G'day and welcome to another episode of the SuperCoach Paige Show. I'm Paige.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Damon.
What a week for you.
It was a great week. Richmond had a great game on the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And
How does it feel?
yeah.
Is it burn? Is it
No,
burning
hang
your
on,
head?
stop. How does it feel
is.
for both of you? You've both lost to me now.
But I'm a winner because we won.
Well, at least your mob won.
Yes.
And my mob won. What happened to yours?
Narrow loss, I think.
Okay, now for the beautiful audience out there, Matt's had to dress up in a bit of Collingwood gear and he's going to give us a nice sing-along.
No, I'm not going to give you a sing-along of
Yeah,
anything.
I think you are.
Yes.
But before we get going on today's show, and Matt, I've got a bit of a present for you this week just to
What
express
is that?
my condolences on the loss.
Mm.
I think it's best that you read for yourself.
Read for myself, right. Dearest Matt, my condolences for Richmond getting spanked on the weekend. Kindest regards, Travis Cloak and Paige. XO.
You can thank me later.
How sweet.
It's all right. You should trade Zorko back into your team. That's a good idea.
You'd follow a real time. Oh, that's lovely. That's a beautiful segue into our very first
At least Cloak was gentle.
He
In the way
was.
that he...
No, 7 goals.
Yeah,
Absolutely ridiculous. What, he
Yeah.
scored 195?
Poor Rance. Did he bring his knee pads?
Yeah,
He did.
Well, he said he wanted to go onto himself. He volunteered to play on Cloak.
Yeah, well, and that's what you get. 7 goals. It was almost, Zach Dawson like.
Yeah, absolutely. And he plays 100 games this week, Zach Dawson. So
How is that possible?
really shows.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, well, compounding the horrible weekend for me, I didn't even crack 2,000 with my score.
Oh,
So,
no.
The first time this year?
First time this year.
Now, you had a pretty low ranking going into
Pretty
this
lousy,
week.
yeah. No, I'm not going to talk about where it is now.
Okay, well, we won't get into that. Damon?
I had a very decent week. I'm actually climbing the ranks. I scored 2237 and I'm now ranked 414th.
Oh, hello.
Very good.
All right, just brag it out. Well, myself, I scored 2,222 from memory.
Yeah, just from memory.
Yeah, from memory. So the 4 2s there.
And
Not
who are your
bad.
best that got you to that wonderful
Look,
score?
I special mention this week to 1G Birchall, you little champion. Now, I traded out Heath Shaw last week. I sort of went against
Good move.
my mantra, and last minute, straight from Shaw to Birchall, and 150 odd points there was fantastic. And Dane Swan as my captain paid off.
But
in
having said
spades.
that, how did your other trade go? Zorko.
Oh, well, look, just, for those of you who do follow me on Twitter, you would have realised that I was in a bit of a pickle last week, not sure whether I should trade in or trade out Zorko. The general consensus in the end was either Justin Westhoff or it was Dustin Martin. These two boneheads here sucked me into going to Dustin Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And for a return of, 80 points?
Yeah.
Decent score.
Yeah,
Decent in the first half.
I do recall me warning you, Paige, to strap yourself in and be prepared for the
And
bumpy
to
ride.
think the
that
Hoff...
is
Now,
Dustin
I
Martin.
apologise to everybody out there who told me that I should have gone Justin West. Look at him. Look how angry he is. I
Anything
love
Richmond
it.
gets me angry these days.
Well, look, let's just move straight into the rookie ramp. Now, we're having a look at players this week, especially, obviously, the rookies that are going up in price and those that have still got very low break-evens in the minus. And those that are starting to edge out into the positives, which we've seen, and obviously more frequently being Jack Viney.
And yeah, trade him. Get him out of your team. Like, a 9 is unforgivable, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's going to be rolling over as well for the
It
next,
will, yeah.
next
And,
2 weeks. So.
I mean, he can probably go up a bit more in price, but there are so many good rookies that you could hop on this week, and it's really not worth sticking with him. I'm going to speak about him later, actually. Someone gave a really good tweet this week, so I'm going to discuss that later.
Now, Damon, for you, rookies.
Yes, I'm actually getting rid of Viney, and I won't go into too much detail about who I'm going to get, but his name is Michael Evans. He's on the bubble, break even of negative 99, so he's going to smash it. I think I've worked out if he maintains his average of, I think it's, 83 or 82, sorry, going into his 4th game, then he's going to go up about 65, 70,000. So,
Jeez, that's lovely.
How about you, Paige?
Yeah, look, I'm not 100% sure on what I'm going to do. I like the look of Evans, basically, as you said, the price rise there is going to be obviously quite big, but I'm kind of thinking about, we'll talk about trading later on and who we're thinking of doing this week, but there might be a bit of, and it's against my mantra again, to go for 96k rookies, but to free up some cash in order for me to, upgrade to a big premium elsewhere. I'm sort of thinking about possibly Jack Frost if he's named. Now, I'm not a fan. I love him. I love the Iceman as a Collingwood supporter, but I don't like him as a Supercoach player.
Do you think he's going to play many games? Is that the thing?
With Maxwell out, I think they'll play a horses for courses approach, but with Nathan Brown and Tyson Goldsack to come back into the side, I think he bobs back down to that 4th, 5th stringer.
So he's more a short-term solution?
I think so. And but I mean, we touched on that anyway, and we look at break-evens with rookies, and obviously the ones that are in the minus. How important is it, and do you guys think, when it comes to rookies and when we should be trading them and when we should be keeping hold of them?
Well, when they get to their break-even of about 30, I think. I mean, there's no guarantee that they're going to go up anything significant in price, and you can most likely make a really good trade at that point to move across from them. I mean, you've got good young players like Nick Floston to come in. Sam Docherty has only played the one game, so you could get him out
Sam
into your
Mays
team
as
next
well,
week.
looking pretty good.
Sam Mays, he's on the bubble right now, and he's got a pretty decent average of about 80, I think.
Dual position as well. Which
Yeah,
is,
dual position, yeah.
For me, I think with rookies, it's more when their break even is higher than the average. That's when I start to think that's sort of danger. That's danger territory. That's when you actually have to get them out.
Yeah.
Because the chances of them making the break even are obviously much harder.
Yeah.
So that's when you give them the clip.
And you've got to look at the scoring potential of the people that you're going to be getting into your team. So, for example, with my trades this week, I'm getting rid of Viney and Maloney. I think Maloney's gone up enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really want to get Swan into my team. You could probably stick with Maloney if you wanted to for maybe 1 or 2 more rounds, but Swan against Essendon, he smashes it every time.
And on that one, I mean, we'll touch on it later. We'll go through Swan's credentials against the Bombers. But, I mean, for me, I've got a rule of thumb with rookies that once they start averaging, once their break-even is around that 40 to 50 mark, that's when I jump off.
Yeah.
And, I mean, at the moment, I'm sort of in a 50-50 decision here is, you have a look at some players that, I mean, Jake Need's probably the best example right now because he's risen substantially, and so is Sam Dwyer, but they've still got so much room to move that trading them now would be probably a bit of a waste. I think. And I think at the moment it's probably better. I mean, for myself anyway, I would probably allow those sorts of rookies. I mean, especially as I said, Need, Dwyer. Obviously, you're going to hold on to O'Meara and Crouch for now, but I'm a big fan at the moment of letting them now completely blossom out, at least for another 2 to 3 weeks. Around round 6 to 7 is when I start pulling the trigger on rookies and drastically downgrading to start having my team thereabouts by before mid-year.
And you see a lot of super coaches out there who downgrade rookies to players who are on the rookie list at, they're priced at what? Low 90s or 96,000 and they're not going to play a game, and that's more a short-term solution. You want to be looking to trade in other rookies that are going to become cash cows and make you money long term. You got to really look long term, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with as I said before. So Jack Frost and Dane Rampy from Sydney. They're both 96,000. They've both been elevated to the senior list, but obviously their job security is one thing you've got to take into consideration. Is that for myself, the only reason I would bring Jack Frost into my side is because I need that extra cash to upgrade elsewhere.
I mean, look what happened with Kane Mitchell. He played 3 games, poor games, and now he's back on the rookie list because Nick Salter's, back on the main list. He came off the long-term injury list and it's basically useless, which I had to burn a trade for that.
Well, on that anyway, I mean, when we are looking at rookies again, with the non-playing rookies, so Kane Mitchell and probably Dan Curry are the 2 biggest non-playing rookies that people still have in their side. Now, for myself, and I'm a fan of the captain's loophole, using the vice captaincy and naming a captain as a non-playing player. I'm utilising that constantly at the moment, and for me, that's probably why Mitchell and Curry still remain in my side, and because I'm not really convinced yet who to trade down to, and to sacrifice the non-playing player approach.
I trust in my gut. Like I pick a captain and I think, I know this guy's going to score well. There's a reason I picked him. I'm going to trust myself, and I'd much rather have my rookies making me money on the bench. I don't think the vice captaincy loophole is worth doing, personally.
See, I've benefited from it already. I mean, with Dangerfield, with Cox a few weeks ago when I had Docherty as my captain, and I got Cox's score of 170, And this week I'm probably going to utilise it again with Dane Swan with the vice captaincy. And if he does spud it up, well, the good thing is that I've got a second chance of naming a captain who I can probably bank on is going to score well, like a Gary Ablett, for example.
I think it's much easier if the vice captain you've chosen actually plays on like the Friday night. Because then, you know, if you choose a vice captain who's playing the same day as your initial captain choice, it's much harder to be there after the first match is finished with the vice captain to then make the decision whether or not you actually.
And that's exactly it, because we got to remember as well is that during the rolling lockout, once teams have started, that they can't be subbed or moved around. So you can only sub players or trade players on and off the field unless they're before their team has started. But I mean, again with break evens, we'll move on to the premium players. Now, how much attention do you pay to break evens for premium players?
Massive attention. I mean, I've got at least 10 players on my watch list on SuperCoach there. I mean, you've really got to look at when these guys are going to be able to get into your team. Number one example, Dale Thomas.
Yep,
He's going to be
straight off the block.
Absolute bargain in a few weeks' time.
His average at the moment is 41.5, and that's something to really write home about. Sub-affected, of course, but a break even of 201 this week. And we were speaking on the Facebook page before that he's gonna. How much is he gonna drop? 60
to 80,000.
60 to 80,000. So you can probably bank on in the next 3 to 4 weeks that he's going to be more towards the lower end of the 400,000s.
Yeah, see, for me, with the break-evens, with premiums, I don't really pay much attention to it, only if I don't have enough money, obviously, to make the trade. That's the only time where I really look at break-evens with premiums. But I think with premiums, you're obviously getting them into your teams for the score, not so much to be money makers. So if, for example, Gary Ablett, for example, this weekend against GWS, if his break-even was 250, but I know that because he's playing GWS that there's a chance of scoring 150, I would still get him into my team, despite the fact that he'll still go down in price.
I can't use that mentality. I need to make money. Like I've got a very business.
You're a Donald Trump.
I'm a Donald Trump. I treat it like a stock market. I treat it like a stock market.
Monopolistic.
So I would much rather get someone in that I think would score, 110, 120, and save myself, $150,000.
But long term.
Oh, I would still get Ablett in after he's dropped in price.
But if he scored, for example, like the 150 for that week, you've now missed out on that score. Mm-hmm. And if you're going for the overall, that's what you need is the score as opposed to money.
Yeah, but in the long run, being able to afford him at a cheaper price, I think that'll allow me to do better trades in the future. So
okay, so we have a look at a couple of players who are going to be really basically money for jam in a couple of weeks. Now, we'll roll through a few quickly. Matthew Boyd, he's currently started the season at 605,000. Average of 74 after the one game. Obviously had a month off of football due to a calf injury. A break even of 192 after the one game. Chances are he's going to drop dramatically, and I'd probably say more towards the bottom end of 500,000. So I'm backing him to sort of drop probably around 100 grand, possibly even a little bit more high 400s. So he's one to consider. Sam Mitchell, your boy Sammy Mitchell, who got your ranking right up there to begin with this season, has softened out. Now, why do we think Sam Mitchell's had a bit of a he's plateaued out?
Might be Luke Hodge's inclusion. He's looking very fit, does Hodgie? Yeah, and I don't know. Mitchell's playing more off the halfback flank and a bit more susceptible to attack, I think.
Yeah, and last year you got to remember as well that he was the number one player at the club for just about every every statistic. Disposals, tackles, clearances, marks, effective disposals, all those things. And this year it feels like others have sort of stepped up around him.
Yeah.
And obviously the fluctuation with Hodge coming in, Sill going out, both of them coming back in at the same time to have all three guns playing.
It is interesting though, at the moment he's averaging 111, his break-even's obviously a little bit higher, 151, but compared to last season, he was averaging 110. So he's pretty much on par with how he's performing last season.
So do you think that his starting price this year might have been enhanced a little bit?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
He was a little bit overpriced, so. But I think he is scoring, to standard.
Yeah, to standard.
Yeah, well, he's still got an average of 111. So, but I mean, we'll throw a few more out there. Heath Shaw, a break even of 150 this week, will become very cheap soon. But
he's not to be trusted.
And he's playing a different role this year. People have got to remember that as well. Is that with Jordan Russell in the team, and obviously a few other guys rotating off half-back. It's sort of releasing Shaw to an attacking wingman forward sort of role, but at the same time, when he's getting more disposals, it means he's got more of a chance of having clangers and his efficiency going down. So, and
even side bottom closer to
yeah.
goal and that sort of thing. And Joe Watson, he's had a sensational year, but don't treat him out. He's stupid.
And a few others that are out there. We've got obviously Patrick Dangerfield, Jimmy Bartel, Scott Pendlebury, Josh Kennedy, who had a stinker on the weekend by his standards, Gary Ablett, and one I really like, Heath Scotland.
He's playing well, Scotland.
There are a few to take into consideration over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you're using your watch list on SuperCoach. That's a fantastic tool. So, but I mean, we move now into the snap. Good one. The ANZAC.
Maybe a sound effect for that, I think.
Good on you. Now, obviously, this week we're taking a bit of a different angle with the snap, and that being we're going to have a look at some players who are enjoying either breakout seasons or career best SuperCoach scoring years. Let's kick things off. Damon, who have you got for us?
I've got Grant Birchall. He's a favourite of mine. I've had him for years on end because he's always reliable. He's got that durability about him. I think he plays pretty much every game. He's done so for the past 2 seasons at least.
He's incredibly consistent. He always seems to score 90 plus every game.
Exactly. And it's that consistency you want from premiums. So I actually got him in my side. It was a bit of a gamble because Suckling injured himself, of course, in the pre-season. So I thought that may affect his scores, but he's smashed that out of the park. And
good trade,
he's done really well.
Yeah. Mine would be Kane Corns. 141.5 average, 48 break even. Even in his absolute prime, he wasn't getting anywhere near these
This
scores.
was a guy who was considered to be just about retirement worthy.
Pretty close, yeah. He's certainly enjoyed Port Adelaide's form, being released a bit more. We have to keep in mind, though, they have played the bottom 3 sides from this year.
But good form is very good form, obviously. But do you think, and I know it's a lot to put on a youngster, I think we mentioned this last week, Ollie Wines. I think he's probably going to be the second coming of Joel Selwood.
Could be.
And him sort of playing that extractor role, moving the ball out of pack so seamlessly, easily, it's probably got a lot to do with the fact that a lot of midfielders, Wingard and Boak, are benefiting.
Well, watch this weekend's game, Port Adelaide against West Coast. It'll be a big barometer. You've got Wines, who I think will have a relatively poor game, Westhoff, who I think will have a relatively poor game, and Corns will have a good game, but still not an amazing average.
And I've got one who's really bobbed up on everyone's radar, Andrew Walker. This guy is, for me, from what I've seen of him for the last 6 years or so, I think he is playing probably the career best football. I think he's playing out of his skin at the moment, and I think Malthouse has really identified something in him, and that's his kicking.
I think it's his kicking and his versatility as well. Like, it's pretty much every second week he's being thrown back, and then the next week he's being thrown forward, and it's that versatility where he can score points up forward as well as down back as rebounding defender. So
well, he's getting a lot of I use the term cheap, it's not a cop out to him whatsoever, but he's getting a lot of cheap ball off half back, but when he gets the ball, it's the way he uses it.
It's very damaging.
Exactly.
He's Scotland-like.
It very much is, and that's probably he's probably moved back to that role. Obviously, the 2 weeks that Heath Scotland was obviously that club imposed suspension. But what I like about Walker so much is that his efficiency by foot is one of the highest in the AFL. He's got an insane kick rating, and obviously everything we built off SuperCoach is efficiency in general.
That's been a surprise as well, because Walker's usually knocked for his disposal. So I think he's worked on that over the pre-season, and
I like him in defence, and I like him running the one way. I know as a forward, he was a bit elusive and hot and cold. He can kick, multiple goals in quick succession.
He's gotten a lot more consistent.
But I think now, out of defence, he's moving in one direction. He's a beautiful reader of the play. A lot of people have jumped on him, and he's one that I've got on my watch list at the moment. So,
and he's got a massive motor as well. I mean, he always finishes first in the time trials in the pre-season, and it's a very good attribute.
Yeah, pretty good.
And we're going to move into the Mint Tours tweet of the week. Now, as we said on last week's show, that the 3 tweets that came through us that we deemed to be the best, we win a $100 Mint Tours voucher. So for those of you who have won tonight, make sure that you give us an email at SuperCoach Paige, all one word, at hotmail.com. and let us know your details, and we'll get those vouchers out to you. But let's kick things off, Matty.
Yeah, I've got one from Paul Giddings. Congratulations, Paul. He asked whether to trade or hold Viney, and if to trade him, whether to get Mays, Evans, or Doherty. Very good question. All of them are very solid options, in my opinion. Mays and Evans are leading the race at this point due to them both being on the bubble with 2 games. Mays is priced slightly higher than Evans, it's due to being picked at pick number 8, I believe, in the 2012 national draft.
Yep.
So he's about 50,000 or so higher. It really depends on who you want to bring into your team. Like I said, I'm bringing in Evans because I want to get Dane Swan into my team, and that involves getting rid of Maloney and Viney for Evans and Swan. I couldn't afford it with Mays instead of Evans, but if you can do something like that and still get a premium player that you want in your side, definitely do it.
Now I've got one from Macca D88. Congratulations on your voucher. I have Jack Stephen and I want to upgrade him to Swan because his price is about as low as it will ever go. Do I keep Jack as a good point of difference? No. I would say that, obviously it's a failed venture, I would say with Jack Stephen, playing a great role for St Kilda, Supercoach-wise, not very much. He's only scored once over 100, Stephen. When you compare that to Swan, who's averaging 124, and he's also has scored 3 times out of 4 games over the 100 mark. Twice he's had some big scores. So obviously last weekend the best example went against North Melbourne in round 1. But
it's a shame he didn't get it on Armitage as a POD player.
Yeah, Armitage would have been, I would say, marginally ahead of Jack at the moment. But I would say if you can get Swan into your team, do whatever possible to get him because a huge accumulator. And I mean, coming up against Essendon this week, Dane Swan in his last 3 games against Essendon has had 45, 42 and 42 disposals against the Bombers, which has resulted in 188, 175 and 102 SuperCoach points respectively. So that is captain material right there, but that'll really throw out your ranking and obviously your score, your weekly score. So I would say straight up, get rid of Jack Stephen, bring in Dane Swan at all accounts.
David?
I've got one from, now apologies here as to how I pronounce it, Jaemon Yun. He asks, any rookies worth downgrading yet, and what premiums are right for the picking, for example, Ablett and Buddy? Now, as you touched on, Matt, and was spoken about, Viney to Evans is the way to go. Down trading that, you're going to bank around about $77,000 straight up. And then, of course, you'll have the price rise of Evans to go with it, so that's going to help you long term. And as for premiums, one to look at, Dale Thomas, we spoke of him earlier, break even of 201. So his price is going to drop by at least 60, 70 grand.
And keep rolling for a few weeks as well.
Keep continuing to drop as well. So he's one to really look out for. Last year averaged 96, so look out for him and get on him.
And he averaged 96 and he was injured playing off half forward majority of the year last year. So fantastic. When he's, I think 2011, 2010, he was averaging in the hundreds. So
very good.
A good option. But
tell the lovely people at home how they can get involved next week.
We'll make sure that when we tweet out to tweet us your questions for the SCP show, that you use the SCP show hashtag. We've also got to be following myself, Matt Damon. Make sure that you do that so we can track your tweets easily. And make sure you're following Mint Tours as well, which is Mint Tours 1 on Twitter. 01. And check out their website at www.minttours.com.
And get tweeting as well because we didn't receive all that many. So
$100 voucher, guys.
Very good chance of winning the voucher. So.
And if you're into snowboarding or skiing or surfing, or you know someone who is, these are fantastic vouchers either for yourself or to give away to somebody else.
Yeah.
But we're going to move into junk time here now. Our tips and captain choices this week.
Well, first up we've got Essendon and Collingwood, the big ANZAC Day game. I'm tipping the Pies.
ANZAC. Make sure and on that, make sure you guys pick up a lest we forget Anzac Day pin bracelet, even donate. Make sure you get around the Anzacs.
And make sure you go out to your dawn service as well.
Yep,
so
definitely
worth going. Again, I'm tipping the Pies it's going to be a really close game, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
Look,
Put your other eye back in.
I'm not confident. I'm not at all, and I think Essendon are just
So you're
their
tipping Essendon
momentum.
then?
I think the only thing that really holds Collingwood in good stead is the fact that their three most important tools are out in Ryder, Hurley, and who
Fletcher.
else? And Fletcher. Yeah, that's it. So that's probably something that's probably going to help us. I'm going to tip us just because of my allegiance to Collingwood.
And you?
I'm going to go with the Pies, going on form. I reckon they're going to feature in the grand final this year. Based upon their form so far, been really impressive. And I don't know who's going to stop Clegg.
Yeah, very good. Just a bit of an ask to have Carlisle playing on it, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it would be, I think, yeah.
Big test for a 21-year-old.
Considering he smashed, who was it, Rance?
Yeah, he's
Yep.
absolutely demolished him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, quickly going through the other games. First game over in New Zealand for premiership points. Sydney against St Kilda. I'm going with the Swans for this one.
Sydney will just annihilate St Kilda.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolute annihilation. Sydney.
Freo Richmond over in Perth. I'm going with Richmond if McFarlane doesn't play, and if he does, then I'm going with Freo. So we'll have to see with the selection.
Another big test for Richmond. I'm going to go Fremantle based on the home ground advantage. Otherwise, it'll be Richmond.
Same for me. I mean, playing up there would be a bit of a task for Richmond. So I'm going to go with Freo.
Yep. Another close game this weekend. GWS against Gold Coast. I'm going with the Giants. I don't know. I like them. I don't know why. I keep tipping them and they keep losing. So.
I'm going to have to go against their Gold Coast, and I think Gary Ablett's going to feature prominently this week. He averages 125 against the Giants. So.
Well, he's my captain choice.
Yep.
Good old Gaz. I reckon Gold Coast as well. GWS, they played 3 really good quarters before they absolutely got smashed by Melbourne.
Yep.
Signs are there, but Gold Coast.
Yep. Carlton Adelaide in Melbourne. I'm going with Carlton for this one.
Yeah, all over the Blue Boys this week. They looked fantastic against West Coast, and I tipped Carlton last week.
Did you?
I did.
Wow.
And I tweeted about it and made it known. All right, that I did actually jump on the Blue Boy bandwagon. No, I'm a believer that Carlton's best footballs, they've just turned the corner.
I'm glad you had faith because I tipped West Coast. I didn't think we'd
and this
do it
week?
there. This week I'm going for Carlton, yes.
Yeah.
I think at the G it's going to help as well. And Adelaide are just in poor form.
Yeah, sure. And the Doggies versus Geelong. Geelong to absolutely smash them.
I'm going to probably bank on a 100-point demolition.
Yeah.
Geelong are going to get the points there.
Geelong hands down, and Selwood to have another 3-vote game.
Ooh. Port Adelaide West Coast. Very important game. I'm going with West Coast. I don't think Port can keep it up.
No, I'm going Port. Their momentum is everything in football, and West Coast are looking horrible. Their midfielders are doing jack squat. Forward line doesn't look to be functioning. And it's at Amy Stadium as well. The fans are getting out to Alberton, and so they should.
I reckon the fairy tale is going to end for Port now. Their easy side of the draw has now come to an end, and I reckon West Coast have to bounce back.
We'll see a lot of that medal this week, I think, with Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
Brisbane, Melbourne. Brisbane to win. Free game for them.
Yeah. The last quarter of Melbourne.
It was an anomaly. It was GWS.
Yeah. Nothing to really read into. Brisbane will really they'll put the foot down this week.
Yeah, I'm going for Brisbane as well. Up there at the Gabba, they should dispatch of Melbourne quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One more game.
We've got one more game, haven't we?
Hawthorn, North Melbourne. I'm going with Hawthorn. If you've got Buddy, pretty tempting to make him captain.
13!
14 this week.
14, I reckon.
Going for the Hawks.
Yeah, Hawthorn, quite comfortably.
I reckon Scott Thompson might have Buddy in check this time. He's in good form. He's in really good form. But I'm going for the Hawks.
Now, you said your captain was Ablett for the week. Mine's going to be Swan. I can't go past his amazing score.
Yeah, Swan as well. And as we said before, 180, 175 and 172 with the last 3 scores Swan scored.
I just wish I had Swan for this week. But unfortunately, I don't. That's why I'm going for Gaza.
Yeah, who scored 125 and 126 last year against the Giants. But just before we go now, Dangerfield has been a hot topic. We'll touch on him very briefly. Obviously averaging 93 at the moment. He's only scored over 100 against 2 teams we would consider poor, that being the Bulldogs and the Lions. He's coming up against Carazzo, so your boy, who has had an exceptional season to date. He's beaten Cochin, Pendlebury, Joel Selwood and Pritis comprehensively. And I think if you're a Dangerfield owner, I would get a little bit nervous this week because I think Carazzo is going to really lower his colours, and that might be a big concern. But we did say earlier, after Carlton, they do play Hawthorn, so it could be another case of low scores. But you might want to hold out because the Crows play GWS and St Kilda. So to follow, so not bad to hold on to.
We'll see. Now, if you liked me wearing this garbage, make sure to keep tweeting in with the SCP Show hashtag. We've got whoever scores the least. We're going to do, since all our teams have played each other. Yeah, whoever scores the least each round, we're going to have them do what you think is best.
Yeah,
now,
so
the best one again is going to win a Mint Tours voucher.
Yep.
Not giving one away this week because most of the things that were suggested either involved the possibility of hospitalisation.
Nakedness.
Which pretty much has happened now.
Yeah,
wearing a
pretty
bias
much. Or severely hampering our teams. I'm not going to make Chris Dawes my captain, whoever suggested
We'll
that.
trade him in to begin with.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Make it fun, but make it not completely insane.
Yep. Basically, you can suggest what the lowest scorer has to do, and it's totally up to you. Make it clean, but make it fun. So we've got time for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another SuperCoach Paige episode. Make sure you get around myself, Damon, and Matt on Twitter. You can find us there, and we'll see you next week.
Go Tigers.
Go Pies.
Go Blues.